Good morning. Oh, come on. Good morning. All right. It's an interesting day, isn't it? Every day is an interesting day. This is an auspicious day in my life in many ways. Tomorrow, of course, is my birthday. 3 years ago is the day that this congregation voted to hire me as the minister, with a 98% people voting for that. I think my approval rating has dropped since then, like most leaders have, but hopefully it's still above 50%. And so today is our congregational meeting. Today is our pledge drive launch, and many of you know that this is the first Sunday since I announced that I will be moving on to another center going forward. And so there's a lot happening energetically today. And what I want to say is that each of us, if you're here for the first time, you're sitting here going, oh my God, the minister's leaving right away. I'm not leaving right away, it's about 6 weeks till the end of April. But our souls have called us to be here. Each of our souls has called us to be here, right now, right here. I got reminded in some of the challenging times that I went through as a minister. I had one of the former board members, Cher Matthews, kept saying, we and you called each other together to be part of this dance, to do this stuff together, and to grow together. And so what I want to say is we as a community right now, whether this is your first time or your 5 millionth time of being here, do we have any 5 million club members being here? Your soul is calling you here to play in this opportunity, to play in this dance. So I want to invite us to take a look at that. There's a Chinese character, a Chinese symbol for crisis. And crisis in this symbol contains both danger and opportunity. Danger and opportunity. And so today we stand on the cusp of opportunity for this center. See, what I knew about the process of my moving forward in this, and that was that when I was asked to be the minister at the next church, which is up in Olympia, Washington, brings me back to kind of my home turf. I'm a Northwesterner by trade. These 115-degree summers here kind of turn me into a crispy critter, and so my web feet have cracked and dried out, and it's really tragic. But what I knew in the process was that it was a win for me. It was a win for Olympia, and it's a win for Reading. It's a win-win-win because it was very spirit-driven. And Spirit always works in everyone gets blessed. Spirit works in win across the board. It doesn't know loss. And so unless we choose to play loss in our consciousness, we have the opportunity to win. And so I want to invite all of us to keep this in mind. That is certainly my intention, that out of this community also is blessed and wins in every single way. So stuff is always happening. Change is always happening. Our very motto is change your thinking, change your life. We're about change. And yet, of course, at the same time, most of us are uncomfortable with change, right? And so it's a place to notice, it's a place to live in, but stuff is always happening anyways. Stuff is always happening. Change is simply the outpicturing, it's simply the outpicturing of growth. In order for us to grow, something has to change. Otherwise, we'd all still be infants, right? In fact, we'd all probably still be in the womb, or we might not even exist at all. You wouldn't have come installed on the planet, because nobody here ever has a birthday excepting Pablo and me in this service. But at some point in time, change has happened, and change is our opportunity for growth. Change is our opportunity to let go of what's no longer working and move into something greater. And that's what we're playing with today. That's what we're playing with this opportunity that's going forward. And how do we go through growth? It's an interesting question. How do I go through growth? And to pay attention. It's a beautiful opportunity to look and say, how do I go through this here? Because how I go through this here is how I go through this in every other area of my life. How do I go through growth? Do I go through it kicking and screaming? I have a friend, Melissa Felipe, who many years ago wrote a song called Kicking and Screaming Down the Highway of Transformation. You leave claw marks in the ground. Okay, so we can do that. We can shut down. We can avoid. We can put our head in the sand. We can just, I don't want to deal with that. We can do that way. Or we can be open and curious and participating. Guess which one I recommend? Okay. That last one, right? Open, curious, and participating. And because we're conscious beings, because we have choice in order to influence our lives and our experience in life, we can go through change consciously. That means that we get to co-create with the universe exactly what this change looks like, what our experience is of it, and where it takes us, okay? So we get to play in this. We must first understand that change is happening and being called forward from our soul self, okay? This is our collective soul calling forth change. And oftentimes our human self, our I don't want to pay attention to my soul self, sits there and goes, oh, I don't want to do this. Okay, anybody besides me ever have that? Yeah, okay? Yeah, okay. This morning, fortunately, my soul called me to wake up, and my intellect said, I don't want to wake up. Besides, I forgot to set all my clocks forward, and thank God I have my alarm on my phone. Okay? Change is about our soul wanting to expand. It's wanting to make more room in our life for more and more good. That's all that it's about. It's about letting go of what doesn't serve, and it's about guiding us into a deeper union with Spirit. We are being guided, each of us, and all of us collectively, are being guided into a deeper union with Spirit out of this process. So when we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, which is what many people view change as, right? Okay? There's two things to know. There's two practices that you want to do. Number one, keep walking. Don't set up a 4-star resort hotel. Make a beautiful camp out of your valley of the shadow of death experience and hang there for the rest of your life. Keep walking. Keep moving forward. And number two, have a direction. Have a vision. Have an idea of what you want to have happen out of this. The third process is being comfortable in the midst of the change, not trying to resolve it all immediately. Okay? There's something called the gap. There's that place of unknowingness. And it's, for many of us, uncomfortable and scary. Okay? And yet we have to be able to be comfortable or functional in that gap. I remember years ago, I think it was Maya Angelou who wrote the book called In the Meantime. Can we deal with our mean times? Can we deal with, we're no longer here and we haven't quite arrived here? And I related sometimes to the experience of we're swinging on a trapeze, we've let go of one trapeze and the other one hasn't quite shown up. And we've got our hand out to receive and we're hoping like heck that that trapeze is going to show up. Okay? And we have to be comfortable with that hanging in the air, period. And so we have that, and not trying to fix it right away and slam something in that'll resolve it right away, but being in that place of saying, no, I'm going to let my soul guide me through this process. My soul has called me into this process. I'm going to let it guide me through this process. So what's our vision? The vision that I have, and I know the vision the board has, and the vision the leadership of this church has, is of a thriving, flourishing, nourishing center. Nurturing center. Would you be good with that? Yeah? That's the vision. That's what we want to create here. That vision hasn't changed. What I want to say is the vision is not dependent on any individual, not even the minister. Okay? The vision is dependent upon consciousness and the co-agreement of all of us that, yes, this is the experience we choose to co-create together in this center. We choose to co-create an experience of love, of joy, of flourishing, of thriving, and of nurturing. Okay. And so we have to engage with the process because it won't just happen if we sit aside and say, I'm going to let those folks over there do it. See, there isn't the community and the board. There isn't the community and the board and the ministers or practitioners. There's only us, all of us together. All of us together. You, I, the board, the ministers, the practitioners are all one. And we're all one in this community. And so we get to co-create this together. Which is exciting, right? For some people it is. One of the things we need to do during this process is to stay out of fear, stay out of blame, and stay out of guilt. All of those are wasters of energy. Okay? I want you to know that I'm leaving. I've been sitting, I'm going to share my process with you. I've been sitting for almost a year. Many of you know it's been a little challenging time for me as a minister here. And I've been sitting for almost a year asking Spirit, where is my right place for ministry? Is it here or is it somewhere else? Show me the way. For almost a year. And I've had a couple of other opportunities show up, and a couple of them were up in the Puget Sound area, where I love. And I felt, no, this is the time to stay here. This is the time to stay here. Olympia even came open back in October, and I looked at it, and I love Olympia as a town. I looked at it, and I thought, no. I got the inner sense, no. We were just moving in as ministers to starting to have a meeting together, to start to work more cohesively together as ministers, and I said to myself, and I knew within myself, this is the time to walk through that process, to go all the way to the completion of that process and not jump, not run away. And so it's sitting with that process and allowing it to unfold. And at that time, Olympia was declaring that they were closing their candidating process at the end of November, and I let it slide away and said, thank you. It's a blessing, and I'm staying here. And then in January, it came open again, and a friend of mine pointed it out, and a couple of things happened, both what I call carrot experiences and stick experiences, okay? You know what I mean, carrot and stick, pain and pleasure. But I said, I'm at least going to go look at that opportunity. And so I went and explored it. My idea was I'm going to walk down this little path. I'm going to take a look and just see, does this resonate at all? And if not, I'm coming back. I wasn't trying to get out of Reading. I wasn't candidating anywhere else or applying anywhere else. But I said, I'm going to look at that. And I walked down that path, and it resonated. It resonated. And it called to me, and I said, this is right. This is right for me, and this is right for Olympia, and this is right for Reading. It is time for me to move into this. Because it's a better match for me and what I love as a minister, which means then it's a better match for somebody who will come in here as a minister. See, if you're in a job that you're not happy with and is not resonating with you, you're in somebody else's job. And the best thing you can do is get yourself into your job and make room for the person who really does resonate with that job. It's a win-win for everybody. Okay? And so I knew that this was the time for me to go, and I had to sit with that, like I said, for almost a year before that developed. Once it developed, it's like there's a ka-chunk inside that happens and you just know it's right. How many of you have had that ka-chunk in your life somewhere, sometime where you just simply know this is right? Okay? Might have even been when you walked into a center like this, where you said, oh, thank God, this is what I've been looking for all my life. Okay? So it's that experience. So it's not, one of the board members asked me, it's like, I'm worried that the congregation will think we're driving you out of here. And they're not. I'm driving myself. Nobody's driving anybody out of here. I have willingly chosen, and they willingly accepted. And we're still in a good relationship. We're still in a healthy relationship moving forward. So I want you to know that about this process. So this is a process that has the potential to be a process of joy. This is a process that can be a process of joy and of fun. You could have fun with this. Would that be okay? Yeah. Okay. Would that be okay? Yes. All right. Change can be fun. We did a personality test here a couple of years ago, and I showed up as one of those people who loves change. Loves change. I'll change just for the heck of it. And what I found was there's a number of people here who really, in that personality test, didn't like change at all. And so, of course, that gets to be a little bit of a challenge in us dealing with each other. What came to me was my secret desire is for stability. Yesterday, we had a wonderful memorial service for our beloved Bob Rock here. And Bob had been married to his wife for decades, right? And then yesterday, we were in a little board meeting, and Reverend Sue was talking about that she's been working at the same hospital, Shasta Regional, for 40 years. 40 years. Other than breathing, I haven't done anything for 40 years. And eating. And probably a few other little details. Tying my shoes, yeah. Not always. Sometimes I've used Velcro. But anyways, so... And I realized that the change aspect of me, there's a little secret longing for stability. It's like, wouldn't it be nice to have that deep, long-term relationship with whatever it is that lasted? And I suspect that those people who really love everything to be steady have a little secret longing for change. Let's shift it up. So if you're one of those who has been change phobic, this is an opportunity for you to play with it gently. This is not going to rock your whole life, okay? But this is going to change a little bit. It's going to shift a little bit in our spiritual community. We have to go through the feelings of what we're doing, okay? So I wanted to talk about that. And then I want to talk about our intentional giving campaign, because we're launching that. And to me, they're tied in together, because the intentional giving campaign is about our vision for the future. And it's not about me personally and whether I stay or whether I go. It's about, do we want to create a center that really works for everyone, that really works for us, that really functions? Are we good with that? And there's two subjects that a minister is never supposed to talk about, right? We talked about this a couple weeks ago. One is sex, and the other is money, right? Okay, so I'm going to talk about money today. Maybe I'll give the sex talk my very last Sunday. Although, as my former minister, Reverend Kathy Ann, used to say, she said, there are people who would rather tell me their entire sex lives than talk about their money. So it could be that this is the most dangerous talk I'll ever give. And I don't talk about money a whole lot from the pulpit, but I feel the need to. So there's a story about Raymond Charles Barker. Raymond Charles Barker was a famous minister who was the founder of the Religious Science International movement, which this church used to be a part of until the two organizations merged together. Powerful minister. He wrote the book, The Power of Decision, which Reverend Mary is teaching a class on right now, and fabulous minister. And late in his life, he was giving a talk in front of 3,000 people. And he showed up on stage, and he had this beautiful shock of white hair, dressed to the nines. And the person who tells this story talks about her reaction to it. And she said what he did was he walked out, and he pulled out of his wallet a wad of bills. She said there were hundreds. These are 20s. I haven't quite got to his level of mastery yet. And he said, this is money. I love money. And the person who's relating the story said she was in shock, and she goes, oh my God, this guy isn't even spiritual. Okay? And how many of you would think that? Okay? You don't have to raise your hand, but just notice that within yourself. And he said, if you've had any reaction to this, like thinking I'm not spiritual, and the person who is relating the story says, oh my God, he was looking right inside my head, He says, think of it this way. If I had my little 4-year-old grandson come out on stage and I picked him up and said, this is my grandson. I love my grandson. Okay? He said, if it's any different reaction, then you are not friends with and you don't love money, and money will not go where it's not loved. How many of you will go someplace where you're not loved? I'm going to put my hand down too. Okay. We go where we're loved. And so if we are having challenges with our finances, do you love money? Now, I don't mean, because there's this whole thing about, love of money is the root of all evil. That's BS. Belief system. Could be something else too. It's when we make money our God, instead of recognizing that money is an aspect of God. See, our theme for this year's intentional giving campaign is called the flow of love, because money to me is just God's love in form. And do we allow ourselves to let it flow into and out of our lives in a way that's the same way we do with love? That's where when Sarah was talking about the magic penny, do I let it go? Just like love, do I just share it? We've all met people who hold on to their love, right? They don't share it. It's really hard for them to do so. Okay? Do we do that with every other thing in our lives? Do we practice what Eric Butterworth talked about in that reading about the practice of giving? Yesterday I was in the bank. I was getting these $20 bills. And the teller, I had assigned my check, and she said, I was using one of my purple pens. And she was like, I love your purple pen. And I noticed that she had a purple mouse there. And I said, is that your, the bank's mouse, or is that your personal mouse? She goes, this is my personal mouse. And she was talking about my pen and stuff like that. And as I left, I just gave it to her. I just gave her the pen. It's a very expensive, about $1.50 pen. And she's lit up, and she goes, "You've just made my day. You've just made my day." And it wasn't just the value of the pen, it was the act of giving, it was the act of sharing, it was the act of just saying, "I'm not attached to this. I have another one in my office. I can go back and get it." Okay? There's more where that comes from. And when we understand that there's always more, where whatever we're giving, that the little bit we have is not our source, that there's a source that is infinite, and that we can tap into that, and it always has more to give, then we can give comfortably and we can give easily. So the value of our center, why would I support this center? Because the value of this center is it produces changed lives. It produces lives in people that are in touch with their direct experience of Spirit instead of hearing about the experience of Spirit or getting a bunch of rules that you're supposed to follow. I love this place because the only dogma here is that we ask you to park between the lines in the parking lot. That's our primary dogma. It's not what we teach, but it's our primary rules. Okay? And that's not widely available here. Communities that are dedicated to you having a direct experience with your source of all of life. And that's our hope, is to point you in that direction, to help you, to support you to have that experience. Okay? So do you share of your money, your time, and your attention? Do you make that a priority? I remember when I very first came here, a person who is sitting right over there asked me in a meeting that we had, "Can you tell where a person's attention is, or what they favor by their checkbook?" And I looked at her and I said, "You can tell by the checkbook and the calendar." Okay? Where do I put my priority? What are my priorities in life? And so as we consider this intentional giving campaign, I ask you to think about that. As we consider the Seva Fair next week, which Seva is simply being in sacred service, sacred conscious volunteering. Okay? Are you willing to say, "I'm going to put some time and attention and money into this center because I value the center, because I value my own spiritual growth. And this is a place where I receive inspiration that allows me to grow spiritually." So I want to close with a quote from Eric Butterworth from the book Spiritual Economics. Don't look for this cover in the bookstore. Marilyn Miller, our practitioner, looked at this on my desk yesterday and she goes, "My God, how old is that book?" And I said, "I got this before Eric wrote it, actually." Yeah. No miracles are required. It is the way you have been created. You are a rich, creative, spiritual being. You can never be less than this. You may frustrate your potential. You may identify with that which is less than what you can be, but within you now and always is the unborn possibility of a limitless experience of inner stability and outer treasure, and yours is the privilege of giving birth to it. And you will, if you can believe. I invite you this week to practice your belief in how good it can be, how good all of this life, all of this process can be, and to take that with you and explore it. So let's move into prayer. Let's take that and move it into prayer. And I know that there is only one source. There is only one life. There is only one. By all the names we give it, there's still only that one. And it is this infinite source of all good, of all life, of everything everywhere. That one is all there is. And each of us is one of it. We are expressions of it. The universe is taking the time and energy to be each of us. And so we are each valuable. We are each necessary. And we are each totally resourced and supported by this infinite presence that wants to experience itself and experience its nature, experience its love in, through, and as us. And so I speak my word that we say yes to that willingness, yes to that flow of love. That we take it in and we give it out. We take it in and we give it out in an infinite cycle of giving, receiving, in-breath and out-breath, as we play in this universe, knowing that we are safe, knowing that we are supported, knowing that no matter what is happening around us, we stand in a power, we stand in an awareness, we stand in a knowing that great good is always present and that we are tapped into it and allow it to manifest in our lives in the most beautiful, abundant, and perfect ways here and now. And so for this, and for each of us who says yes to this, I am grateful. For the Spirit that moves through all of this, I am ever so grateful. For each and every person here today, I am ever so grateful. And so I release this word into what we call the law, that process that moves it into form and experience and expression, and let it be. And together we affirm that by saying, and so it is. Thank you.